Hello everyone, JSimLady here. Welcome back. I am doing another speed build, but first I wanted to introduce this to you a little bit. So the last couple of times I did a real floor plan that I found on like Zillow or whatever. I didn't really show you the original floor plan, at least not very well. First, I just kind of built the floor plan and then as part of the speed build and then went right into editing. But I really wanted to show you this floor plan first because I've been looking at houses in Florida and there are some pretty wild ones. Like, this is not even close to the most wild house I've seen down in Florida. And the way people just kind of willy-nilly add on rooms and stuff, it is just absolutely some of the weirdest stuff I've ever seen. But not everything is here like it should be. There should be a door right here that's missing and a window somewhere about here that's missing as well. But I think I got everything as close to the floor plan as I could, as far as I can see. So there is, like, this whole backyard is basically paved over. Everything is paved, but it's like broken up paving, deteriorating paving, and then there's a driveway that comes down along here. The house is technically up so that the front door has a few steps leading to it, and then there's some broken up paving over here as well. But I just wanted to get the basics of the floor plan. So this is my understanding of the house as it currently sits. This is the kitchen and dining space. And on The Sims, it actually looks enormous. It is not. It is very tiny in the real house plan. And there isn't, like, they have their dining table pushed up against the wall here because there really isn't a lot of room for a dining space in this kitchen. And then this would be the living room, the front door entry area. This is a couple of closets, one that leads into the hallway, one that leads into this very tiny bedroom, a linen closet here, and awkwardly long, narrow primary bedroom here with two very small bathrooms right next to each other. Then we have two more bedrooms right here that have a double door between them for some reason. Not sure what's going on with that. That's another thing I forgot to add to this. Technically, in the real floor plan, this is only one tile wide, but I couldn't do that because then the hallway would only be that wide. And that makes me think, is the hallway... No, it's got to be the scale because this looks like a normal size, like 3-foot hallway or whatever in the pictures and everything. So I'm guessing there's something weird going on with the scale here, that this looks like an extra wide closet. It is not, I assure you. Then to get to this whole other section of the house, you have to go through this bedroom right here. Oh, and this is an completely open utility closet. There's a washer and dryer here, and I assume furnace and water heater and stuff in this space, though you can't see that from the listing. So in this part, this is labeled a bedroom, this is a hallway, this is a living room. There is a sink right here and a fridge blocking this window, which, okay, whatever. Then you've got a bathroom here, but this bathroom actually has the door down here into the sunken area. And this extra wide closet also has two doors right here that are in the sunken area, not up here. It's such a narrow space. I think in real life it's about 2 feet 11 inches wide, if I remember correctly. So there's no way you would be able to put a door at the top here and be able to use the entire space. However, it's The Sims, and I could not do it perfectly to what was in the house plan, but the doors are actually down here, and you can access pretty much the entirety of the closet and use it as a nice big storage area. I'm not sure why this part of the house is sunken. The way the driveway comes up and back here, I want to say at one time there was a garage back here, but it's hard to know because there's also a patio door here, and this room is cut in half by a big beam across the ceiling, which means this was once a covered porch and this part here was added on. So yeah, I think the weirdest part about this is to get to this part of the house, you have to go through one bedroom. You have to go through this bedroom here into this hallway, and then this is a bedroom, and this is considered a living room, which is really weird. But again, this is not by far the weirdest house I've seen in Florida. There are some pretty weird ones. There's one that I'd like to do in the future, but every time I look at the floor plan, my mind melts a little bit. Whoops. And I don't know how to edit it. That one might take me a while to figure out. This one wasn't too bad, but there are a couple of different ways in which this could be changed to use the space better, and I'll talk about that after we get through the speed build for what I actually did to this floor plan. So let's get into that. Now, there are several different ways that you can potentially rearrange this house. This is just one of the ways that I decided on. You don't have to completely demolish that thing on the back, which you'll see I do here in a minute. You could create some kind of sunroom situation, or it might even be cheaper potentially to incorporate that room into the side of the kitchen possibly, and like create a full-on actual sunroom right there. I'm not sure. I know that there are many other ways you can remodel this house. I tried several before I settled on this version. For me in real life, I would have done something with those two bedrooms that I combined into one bedroom right there, because I kind of would have wanted to at least keep part of that room that I demolished, that like sunroom space that I demolished, because I have a child who is about to become an adult, and I would love to provide her own little apartment for her. And that's kind of how, going over the listing for this house, that is or was initially meant to be set up as its own little like mother-in-law suite or apartment or something. But for The Sims, I decided to settle on incorporating the whole house as one piece. Also, if you did it that first way where you kept that sunroom and made that like truly renovated it into a mother-in-law suite, there's no space for a dining room. When I say the kitchen and living room of the original main structure of this house is small, I truly mean it is small. The Sims does not quite do it justice because I can't make it small enough. The scale doesn't work with the furniture and the space of the grid. It just doesn't quite work out right, but it's small. You would have no real dining space, and your kitchen would be incredibly small, as would your living room. But yeah, there are so many different ways that this house could cheaply and easily be remodeled just on the inside and not even necessarily having to tear down that sunroom space and working with it instead of major construction costs to get rid of it. And have space for grown children or elderly parents or whatever the need may be. But in The Sims, I felt like this was the best possible floor plan for gameplay purposes. I was remodeling this just to play around with this floor plan and see how I would remodel it if it was my house, but I was also keeping in mind the entire time that this is a Sims house and I do want to put it on the gallery, and that means people are gonna want to play with it, and so I wanted to make it as playable as possible. Now, this kitchen here in The Sims, like I've mentioned several times now, is huge. In real life, it would not be. For instance, you would only have space for two of those pantries right there, and I probably should have shrunk this whole side of the house down by one tile, and that probably would have been closer to accurate. And also, after finishing, I went back and looked at the floor plan and the house again and the photos that they had of the house. And you really wouldn't be able to move the sink with the type of foundation that they have, not without it costing a tremendous amount of money. But this setup here is more like my ideal money is no object kind of setup for the kitchen. And likely in real life, you wouldn't be able to have a wide sliding patio door there. You'd probably have to have more like a regular single door there. But again, the scale and the Sims and all of that. So I was kind of, like I said before, working with these three ideas in mind. How I would do it in real life, potentially, depending on the situation, but also how The Sims allows for keeping within a budget in some areas, and then money is no object rearranging in other areas. That's basically the theme of this build, mixing reality with The Sims and kind of staying budget conscious while not worrying about a budget. I don't know how else to explain it besides that. But yeah, so this room I think makes a perfect dining room if I was to tear down that sunroom space and not keep that a mother-in-law suite back there. If I was not to tear down that sunroom back there and I was to keep that space back there like a separate mother-in-law suite or mini apartment or whatever, I definitely would have had to rearrange things dramatically. And honestly, in that situation, you could still set the kitchen and dining room up this way, and you could still have a small third bedroom. But where that hallway is that leads to the new living room, which will be back there in that sunken area, you could have a small living room there then. And that's another way to set this space up, is to have one very large primary bedroom. And honestly, the primary bedroom does not need to be that big. I'm sure if you sat down and studied the floor plan, you could probably come up with what that was originally in the because this house looks like something that's been added onto and altered multiple times. So I'm sure you could see, like, come up with what that might have been originally and how you could work that space better to incorporate maybe an extra office or an extra storage closet or something. Then again, I could be wrong because the scale, like I said, is really, really off in The Sims compared to real life. And taking a second look at that real life house, the front of it, there were just two windows to start with. Not two. Okay, so the way I have it set up, I made two small windows into a big window. That's kind of how it looks in the real life house as well. There would just be the one set centered on the wall. So maybe that room is actually a lot smaller than it seems like it is, which would mean the other rooms are way, way smaller than they seem like they are as well. And the Sims just doesn't match up with reality, so it's really hard to know. But just playing around with this in The Sims, that would be another idea, is to just have not a bigger third bedroom, but a small third bedroom, a really small one, especially if you're an older couple or whatever and you have adult children. That third bedroom could easily just become the office, and again, you have that mother-in-law suite or small apartment in the back for the adult children. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm not making a ton of sense and I keep repeating things over and over again. My editing software is suddenly acting very weird, but my whole computer has been acting really super weird the last couple of weeks, and I don't know how to fix it. Like, everything I've tried, nothing is working. I don't know if I know there's been like 3 Windows updates in the last 3 weeks, and things just keep getting worse and worse as time goes. So I don't know if these Windows updates are messing with everything or what. But yeah, nothing is quite working right. And I'm on a little bit of a time crunch, so I'm trying desperately to get this extra long speed build done because I have stuff I have to go and do, and I just don't have the time to mess around with this. And so I did go back and listen to what I said a couple of times, but at this point I've given up that. So every time the program messes up and I have to close it several times and reopen it to be able to record the voiceover, I don't listen to it anymore. So another thing to keep in mind is this is a really long speed belt. Like, I was frustrated by the differences in scale and stuff and the way that Sims objects work versus real life. And so it was a lot of slow moving decision making happening. So I did cut out a lot of things. And also, some things just get repetitive after a while, and you don't need to see every single detail. We can take a little bit of a closer look at the end when I do the quick walkthrough. But yeah, also in real life, you would not need that wall there because you would be able to put just a glass piece there between the toilet and the shower head would actually be on the wall. I don't know why we don't have any showers like that in The Sims. I feel like at this point, with this version of The Sims, they were heavily focusing on aesthetics and people who love building houses and stuff, and yet basic things like that really wouldn't interfere with the game or animations or anything at all, they just never included. It's a little bit weird, I will say that. That also kind of makes doing stuff like this annoying. Because where in real life you'd be able to put a shower there that fills up the whole side, I guess I could have used one of just the shower pieces that just go on the wall and put a wall and window there to be like a glass separation. I guess I didn't really think of that at the time. So yeah, I guess it is kind of available, but still, you know what I'm trying to say. I just wanted to slide a cheap shower in there and not have all the building stuff, and that's just not available. Really, what I wanted was the tub and shower combo, and that's not available because your Sims won't get in from the opposite side of where the shower is at, if that makes sense. I've heard some people claim they will get in from the backside and from the side that is not where the water is at, but I've literally never seen the Sims do that ever. They only get in where the shower head side is at, where the water is at, and only from the side where the the floor print is at, like the extra invisible box space at the front. That's the only place they'll get into the showers, if that makes sense. So it does make things like that frustrating, and I think sometimes I get stuck in that and I forget that we do have some stuff available to us to work around that. Not a lot, but some. Anyways, looking at this primary bedroom in The Sims here versus what it looked like in real life, yeah, this one is definitely a lot longer and probably is not nearly that long in real life, and yet the bathrooms are pretty close to scale, and that bedroom right there is, I don't think it could get any smaller than that. I really don't. I think that's fairly close to scale as well, which either makes me think the hallway is a lot narrower than it seems, and it's not like a building code wide, and that would bring but even bringing the primary bedroom down one tile still would not be accurate to real life. I don't know. Besides the perspective in these games messing with my head, the scale in these games mess with my head as well. Especially when you're trying to look at a floor plan of a real life house on one side and translate that into The Sims on the other side. You know what I mean? If you've ever tried it, you know exactly what I'm saying. But for The Sims, I think this floor plan turned out really, really nice. And I really like it. And if I wasn't thinking in terms of having a studio, separate apartment, mother-in-law suite in real life, this would definitely be the way that I would most likely set this up, especially because you're gonna see later on in the video that there's this really cool backyard that I put together and stuff. So yeah, this would be my most ideal if I weren't thinking in terms of a second small apartment space. Okay, I have no idea if I already mentioned this or not, but if I did, I'm really sorry. I've been working on this video for literally hours just trying to do the voice recording part, because suddenly my DaVinci Resolve is not working, like, at all. Like, it'll start the voice recorder thing and the screen will move, and then it will just not save the voice clip and it won't show up in my timeline. I really don't know what's going on with this computer and this program. I can't even tell you how many times I've re-recorded all of this now. Apparently, I can only record in teeny tiny little increments. This is gonna take me so long to finish at this rate. I don't understand what is wrong with this computer. I really don't. It was running mostly fine until about 2 weeks ago, and then just everything that could go wrong is going wrong. I hate Windows so much. I don't know. I'm doing the best I can here, but like some of this might not have much of a voiceover with it. I guess I'm gonna have to go back to doing the voiceovers in OBS, which reduces the quality of the videos. I don't even know if this video is gonna export. I was so proud of this house too. I spent hours looking for the perfect houses to try to redo. And then I spent hours thinking about how I would redo them. And I was so excited and happy. And now it's like the universe is telling me just give up on everything. Maybe it's just this one project that became corrupted. I have no idea. I just wanted to get back on schedule. I kind of miss making videos regularly, and I was all happy and excited, and now the computer just is not cooperating. I hate computers so much. So far, I've been doing this in like 30-second increments and it's working now, so maybe that's what I'm gonna have to do for the rest of this video. It's literally gonna take me the rest of the day to get this video out though, and that's even if it will render at the end, because I haven't even got that far to try it yet. I checked for updates to the program. Windows is updated, like I don't even know. But anyways, we're in the living room part now, and this is such a fun room. I bet if you wanted to in real life, you could even raise this floor up and get rid of the sunken area and make it all one big room. And that would make it even better. And maybe that's just the disability in me talking. Maybe other people find it really, really cool and would not raise the floor up. But the disability in me is saying, you know, you should really raise that floor up. It's probably doable. To be honest, I don't know why they sunk it down in the first place, especially if this was a garage at one time. You know what I mean? I always look at houses like this on Zillow and stuff, and I just try to get into the mindset of all the various owners that have owned these houses and why they potentially did the things that they did with their house. Like, there is one house, I think it was once a duplex, so it was potentially cut in half and being rented, but then they decided to incorporate it all as one house. But like, you have the front of the house, which has 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room. And then you have this little doorway in the back of the kitchen that leads to a whole other part of the house. And it's like 3 or 4 more bedrooms back there, and a laundry room, and a bathroom. But you have to go through this little doorway in the kitchen, and I think you might even have to go through one of the bedrooms. I'm not sure. That's the one that makes my mind melt every time I look at it. Especially since there's all these weird little alcoves everywhere in that house. I should try to recreate that house. It's probably not on Zillow anymore, so I'd have to do it from memory, but I bet I could create a really wacky house like that and then redo it. You know, I might even put it up, the non-edited, the non-remodeled version of the floor plan, and see how other people would remodel that house. I have a general idea of what that house looked like if I can't ever find it again. But I have seen some pretty wacky floor plans. I do appreciate, especially with the wackier houses, when they include floor plans or like an estimation of the floor plan in the listing, because you would never know just looking at the photos how the house is set up. I've seen a couple of houses now where you walk in and the only thing you have access to is the kitchen, dining room, and living room, and you have to go through a small doorway at the back of the kitchen to get to the rest of the house. It makes me wonder, A, where was the kitchen originally? Because I know the kitchen did not cut the house in half originally. And two, why would you put the kitchen right dead center in the house, cutting off the main living area from the bedroom areas? Like, why? Why would you want to do that? I don't know. It's weird. Especially since most of them don't really have back doors, or they have a back door only in one of the bedrooms. Cutting the house in half like that with a kitchen, and not like an open walk-through kitchen. No, the kitchen is like a little room with a small door at the back of it that you have to exit through to get to the bedroom areas and or the rest of the, I don't know, it's just some of the house plans I've seen have been really weird, but they're really fun to play with in The Sims and see how I would alter them and do them differently in real life if money was no object. Okay, minute by minute, we're inching closer, but if I so much as hover my mouse over anything in my media folder, I lose my screen. So that's fun. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever this most recent Windows update did, it really messed up my DaVinci Resolve program. And this is the only program I've tried so far. I've even shut the computer down, started it back up, um, and and still, like, this is the only program I've tried to run right now, so I have no idea what other programs are not running now since this Windows update. This really makes me mad. Anyways, I'm just now realizing that when I went back to the listing, I saw more photos of that balcony area in the living room, and the balcony itself is actually two different levels, which tells me that yes, that absolutely was a garage at one time, but why they sunk the bathroom and what I now have as the living room down into the floor makes no sense to me, but it does tell me that it can be raised back up. And so I might go back and re-edit it and just raise the living room back up and then put the closet doors where they're meant to be. And that is really, truly, like if money were no object, how I would edit this house. But even at that, the main part of the house, the original part of the house where the kitchen, dining room, and bedrooms are at, that all is still up a little bit higher than even the lower balcony of that living room space. So you would still have two steps there leading down, but it would be over by my new hallway that I created rather than from the balcony into the living room, if that made sense. And so the outside, the door from the kitchen would be up two steps. And that's why you can't build a deck there, because the patio for the living area is on the ground. The living room patio door is on the ground. The kitchen patio door is up two steps in real life. And so you'd have to just build a cement patio. Okay, I'm kind of getting a feel for what things on my DaVinci Resolve are broken and which aren't. If I hover over anything outside of my timeline, it takes away my screen. And when that happens, it also doesn't actually record my voiceover. It looks like it's recording the voiceover. It goes through all the motions of recording the voiceover. But then as soon as I hit stop recording, it all just disappears. But as long as I keep the timeline in the foreground, I guess I would say, then it works mostly, sort of. I am within minutes of being done, though. I am so close, I can practically taste it. And of course, this would have to happen on an extra long speed build, too. Of all the times for this to happen to me, it would have to be here. And at this part, I did cut out even more of the little detailed pieces because it really was starting to get long. That little shed that's there that's already on the property, I would just move it into the corner so we could have a pool behind the house. I would add a lean-to shed around the side for pool related stuff. And yeah, I mean, I did fence off the pool because I have dogs. And I think if you have dogs and you even remotely think there might be a chance where you leave them in the backyard by themselves ever at all, it's a good idea to fence in the pool or have a separate yard that they can go into. And in this case, I had to fence off the pool, but there's still a nice big area for the dogs to run around in, and we can easily access the pool. I love this little house. If I could buy it in real life and remodel it even remotely similar to this, I totally would do it. I think when it comes to our own houses, though, when we're living in them, I think a lot of us get overwhelmed and stuck, and we just don't know where to even begin. I experience that in my real life house, where I just get stuck and I don't know where to begin because I'm living here every day. So, anyways, let's get to the walkthrough. Okay, well, the good news is OBS and The Sims 4 seems to be working just fine so far. But anyways, as I was saying when we got to the end of the speed build part was, I'm sure the people who currently own this place could have done something like this too, but when you live in a space day in and day out, you kind of get stuck and you don't know where to start. And I feel like a lot of us fall into that pitfall there. But let's take a look. So this is the front here, and I made it kind of a greenish grayish color. I like that color. I don't know if I would actually use that color in real life on the whole house. I would have to like see the neighborhood and everything around it. I think maybe in real life it would look better as a white house with maybe a green fence potentially, especially since I made the shed blue. But yeah, anyways, here's the carport here, which I added on, and I would really sincerely hope that the city would allow for that. And then there is two access points, one here for private use for the family, and then one over here to access utility stuff over here for the city. I don't know about in Florida, but where I live, you have to have that. So, then we've just got some nice Florida-esque landscaping outside of the fence that is already there. It's a heavily wooded area, so there's lots of trees around, and the house does already currently have a bunch of solar panels, way more than I put on here, and these probably wouldn't work here with all the trees in the way, but I added them anyways. So let's go inside. So you walk in and you have this little entryway here. Actually, let's do that. Yeah. So you have this little entryway here across from the door. I didn't put a mirror there because I felt like a guest looking in to the entryway and looking up and seeing themselves in the mirror might startle them. I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing. But you have your little entryway here and then a nice cozy yet lots of space to move around at dining room. You could even have extra chairs to have guests over, whatever. Two ways to enter into the kitchen here. We got a nice blue, very oceany, very tropical kitchen. I love that, with a big access to the patio here. And then you've got this little hallway here, which leads back here to the living room, the storage closet, the bathroom. Again, I would totally lift all of this floor up. I bet you it could be done in real life, and I bet you at one point it was. Because I feel like this was a garage, and I have no idea how they got this sunken into the ground. But I would totally lift all of it up. There would still be two steps, like right in this area here, but that would be fine. The bathroom would be easily accessed from the patio door, and even from a door you could put in right here, so you could go directly, or instead of a window here you could put a door here, and then you could go right directly from the backyard into the bathroom. Then you have this huge living room area. It's quite a ways away from the dining room and kitchen, but I feel like that's fine. It's a massive amount of space with massive amounts of storage, which is perfect for video games and board games and puzzles and computer games over here in the corner, and music and toys and a cat area. And then, of course, you have all of the bedrooms. You have the kids' bedroom here, you have a little nursery or office here, the parents' bedroom here, and then the two kind of small bathrooms. You could also, if you really wanted, turn these into a single bathroom. It'd be pretty big for a single bathroom on their own. They're kind of small, but it works in The Sims, so I left it. Lots of closet space, plenty of closet space, and extra storage area. Plenty of closet space for all of your storage needs. But yeah, I think it turned out fun and cute, and it's definitely a house I would want to live in real life. Pool area back here, maybe even a potential garden over here, and it's fenced off so the dogs can't get into it, so it's perfect. So hopefully you enjoy this house build as well. If you did, and you would be so kind, would you please consider hitting the like button, maybe even leaving me a little comment? And if you really, really want to, hit that subscribe button as well. I have so many more ideas now because I've spent so many hours looking at houses online to try to recreate them and remodel them in The Sims 4. I have tons of ideas, so I can't wait to share them with you. Hopefully you stick around to see those, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!